Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Chef Live again. I'm Jody Wolfborn, and today I'm very excited because a little bit selfishly, I guess, my team gets to talk about the big project that they've been working on, that we've all been working on for like the last, gosh, what has it been, like 7-8 months now?
A few more than that, actually, Jody. I started working on this about 14 months ago.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so more than a year in the making, we have been attempting to migrate the Learn Chef platform that you find at learn.chef.io over to a new platform, something that's a little bit more flexible and enables us to allow more people to contribute. So not just our team is responsible for managing content, which means all of the content on there is a lot more up to date, a lot more relevant to your use cases, your user stories, and all that kind of stuff. So as Kimball said, it's been 14 months in the making, which feels like a lifetime when I say it, and it feels like a lifetime having gone through the process of actually doing this project. So this week, I'm very excited to say we get to have a conversation sort of around the process that we went through, some of the lessons that we learned, our goals, and then the super added bonus of this episode is that we're actually joined by a few people from the team who built the platform that we migrated onto. From the Appsembler team, we have Tanya Storm, Harry Klein, and Nate. I hope I say your last name right. Is it Aune? Is that correct?
It's close enough.
Okay.
Aune,
okay. Awesome. Nate Aune, who is the CEO and founder of Appsembler. So we're going to get a little bit of insight into the platform, the project that we've been working on, and also hopefully maybe some insight into the roadmap for Appsembler and where we might see them go in the future. So without any further ado, I think I'm going to have each of our guests introduce themselves, and I'll just ask you to say your name, what your role is, and which company you work for, Chef or Appsembler, and then maybe a little bit of your history as well, like what brought you to the learning field in the first place. So let's start with Kimball Johnson. Kimball, take it away.
Hi, Jody. So yeah, I'm Kimball Johnson. I work for Chef Software as a developer advocate. I've been at Chef for 5 years now, and I've been involved with the learning team for about 2.5 years. Now, my background from this is even further, is that before I was at Chef, I used to work for Lancashire County Council in northwest of England, and I was responsible for maintaining the learning environment for every school in 2 of the large counties, Lancashire and Cumbria. So we had 1,000 schools, each with a learning environment. And so I've got a lot of experience with learning environments, and particularly open source environments, not with the platform that we've been using with Appsembler, but with Moodle, which is another open source platform. And so it's been a really interesting journey for me. So yeah, as I say, anything more you want me to say?
I think covers it. That's awesome. I did not realize that you managed the learning environments before you came to Chef. So that actually makes so much sense in this process. Kimball has had a lot of insight into a bunch of different tools and companies and processes and like workflows that that you can use to sort of build these learning environments. So that all makes sense. Things are starting to come together. Let's go. Let's talk to Tanya. Tanya, you are from Appsembler, and you've been our customer success manager this whole time, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have conversations with you, but you've also like sort of bent over backwards for us as we've gone through this process and asked for maybe, at least to me, what feels like a lot of really important things to us, but like a lot of new stuff. So can you tell us a little bit about like what attracted you to Appsembler, what you get to do on a daily basis, and yeah, kind of what your work is around that?
It might be like the best introduction I've ever had in my life. I feel so warm and fuzzy now. Yes, I am a customer success manager for Appsembler. I've been at Appsembler for about a year. Previous to that, I actually did similar work for a different e-learning company called Articulate. So I've been in the e-learning world for 6 years and in technology for an embarrassingly long time that I don't quite want to admit yet on the screen. Anyway, as a customer success manager, I pretty much have the relationship with the customer as they come on, like I have with you, from when you start and we kick off together and figure out what this stuff is you've bought anyway and how do I use it, and then ongoing to kind of keep you informed on what we've got coming in new, what do you need from us, and just I'm the person that you come to and I'm your advocate within Appsembler for what your needs are. And then I'm also the person coming to you going, look at this new stuff we have. So I get that awesome role. It's a perfect role for me. And I'm so lucky that I got to work with Chef as a customer success manager. Like everyone was a little envious and a little glad they didn't have it because it was going to be a lot of work, but also a little envious too because Chef has such cachet. And you guys have just been amazing to work with and so much fun. And so I've really enjoyed that. And it's been a pleasure. And I'm glad to do yoga because I did bend over backwards and do a few cartwheels, but that's my job and I love it. And so it's been great. So thank you.
That's awesome. Well, and thank you for sharing that feedback with us too. That's very nice to hear. And I think I like, as you were sort of describing your role as a customer success manager, it's very like parallel to what we do as developer advocates. So it's nice to kind of like hear from your perspective or like in your words what you do and be able to relate and say like, oh, well, that's what I do too. It's just like at a different stage in whatever process people are going through. So
there's one part I didn't answer. You asked me what attracted me to Appsembler.
Oh yeah.
You know, I didn't know what I was getting into when I started fully. I just pretty much had met some people, especially Harry. I was in love with Harry on site. He's an amazing manager. And what I didn't know was it was going to be the best company I've ever worked for. And I'm not just blowing smoke. Like seriously, this place treats people like people, takes a holistic approach. This is your job, not your entire life. And it is a fantastic place to work. And I think that's what lets me do a great job for you because I'm treated well. So it's wonderful here.
That's awesome. Good job, Nate and Harry.
Definitely.
Pat yourselves on the back for that one. And actually, that's kind of a perfect segue. Let's introduce Harry. Harry, can you give us a little bit of your background and maybe what drew you to Appsembler as well?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks. Hi, everybody. Harry Klein. I head up customer success at Appsembler. And the way I see my role at Appsembler is to make sure that people like Tanya and our other CSMs can just shine. So I'm an enabler, essentially. I try to, clear obstacles for them, protect them, help them be the best they can be every day. And they all do a great job. And my strategy of only hiring people that will make me look good seems to be working so far. So, it's important.
You made a very good choice with Tanya for sure.
Yeah, there you go. In terms of what attracted me to learning, I've been involved in technology and technology media companies and sort of customer engagement strategy work for a very long time. And I had a colleague and a friend actually who was doing some part-time work with Nate and the gang at Appsembler. And he introduced me and we had a couple of conversations. Next thing I knew, I was doing a 3-day consulting project for them. And a week later, Nate reached out and said, you should think about coming to join us. And it just, you know, it made sense. I mean, as Tanya said, you know, the culture's spectacular, fully distributed team globally, and it's a tight culture. It's supportive. It's you know, we work hard. We have fun. We you know, it's like any other. I mean, we certainly have our challenges, but you know, the way we resolve things and work through issues and knotty problems that we have with customers, without them internally, it's a pleasure. It really is. And so it's delightful. I will tell you that I have heard a lot about the chef project. I've been watching it a little bit from, you know, a step or two removed. The team, we had a sprint review yesterday, and I can tell you that the Appsembler team that wasn't on the project were roundly applauding yesterday all over Zoom for the team and the work you all did together. So we're really excited and thrilled to have been part of it, and looking forward to what comes next and keeping it going.
Well, your team definitely deserves a huge round of applause. Tanya was not the only person who bent over backwards for us during this process. So, and I was not even heavily involved in that part of the process, and I know how much people bent over backwards for us. So, so
good to hear.
You all definitely have an awesome culture there. So,
well, you know, we're really focused on, you know, we don't win if you don't win, obviously, but you don't win if your learners, if your developers that you're trying to educate and help don't learn, and they don't win. So, you know, even though we're a step removed from them, we want to do as good a job as we can at serving your learners. So it's important to us. But maybe the most important question I have right now is what kind of guitars Robin Beck has hanging up on the wall there, because, you know.
That's a perfect segue to Robin's introduction.
Everyone at Chef plays music like us. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The acoustic might be worth mentioning. It's a Taylor Dreadnought. I just love it. The other one is like a no-name S101, you know.
All right.
But it's pretty. Although after this
we should only work with musical tech companies from now on, Nate. Just please. It's just how it should be.
On Twitch, our coworker Sean says, Tanya, he plays the Spotify really well too.
Oh Lord. Sean looks like he can make me dance. So I think Sean's got some secret moves. He can be your dancer.
Our boss did get us all gifts after this project was completed, and so I do have a soprano ukulele now that my fingers can barely fit on. It's adorable.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in the other room.
That's wonderful. Robin, why don't you give a little bit of an introduction for yourself as well? And I'd love to hear your history in learning, as well as what sort of drew you to the Learn Chef team.
Yeah, that's the brief version. I'm a developer advocate here. I work, you know, with Jody and Kimball, and I guess another member of our core team that brought this to life is Steve Fonta, one of our content and courseware managers, who wasn't able to be with us because he's taken some time, fortunately. And I've been here in an official capacity for about a year, but working with Chef as a company for about 5 years now. Been involved in learning and education in the tech space for about a decade now, and yeah, the Learn Chef Rally project was a huge benefit to anyone that I worked with teaching them chef. So it was really cool to step into the company, and this Learn Chef 2.0 project really be kind of the focus of what we were doing together, because it really kind of speaks to what I try and do at the company, which is enable other people to help themselves learn our products and just learn about technology in general. So this kind of like self-paced learning project is really exciting to me because it's always been the way that I furthered my education personally. I come out of science, but I don't come out of a technology background. So pivoting into doing this and being a developer advocate and teaching coding really was only possible because of online learning resources like the ones that Appsembler's platform provides. So it was really neat for me to be able to work with them and see how passionate they are too about bringing these types of solutions to people. And there were definitely challenges. I think most of them were on our end in a lot of ways. So it was a really fun project to be involved with.
If I can make a food joke, we might have bit off a little more than we could chew with on our end in terms of what we thought content wise we could get ported over in time. So
yeah, we're still playing catch up, and there's a lot more good stuff to come to the platform. So anyone that is asking where certain courses are or when certain content will be available, we're working full time for you, and we'll have great new stuff to show you soon. So.
Yeah, well, and in that vein, I've actually been really appreciative of all the feedback we do get from users right now. Like the disparity or the parity between our the new Learn Chef platform and the old one. We're getting feedback from users that are saying, hey, I missed this module or I missed this track. And it allows us to start a conversation and ask them, like, what about that track or module was valuable to them? What were the parts that like really they were able to engage with or connect with, and what parts maybe could be left out or modified to be a little bit better. So it's been a very interesting process to go through, and like it's like learning wrapped within learning wrapped within learning. So it's kind of cool.
It's true. We definitely pulled all the skeletons out of the closet once we really got into the platform. I guess we should probably mention for anyone watching, like our previous platform, we really enjoyed it, but it was really kind of a bespoke web application that was built in a Ruby templating format, embedded Ruby, and then kind of compiled the HTML afterwards. So it was like really beautiful and quite complex. And by the time we finished the migration project, we finally understood how it worked. So it was very neat, but it didn't really enable us to move quickly and publish new content in an efficient way. And really was only our core team of 4 people that could build new Learn Chef Rally projects. And now with the new Appsembler platform, that kind of changes and opens up content development to the rest of our team and our company.
So. Yeah, and I think the other thing was that although it was super flexible, the platform, like in theory, it could do so many different things. The work involved to change things, to add new features and stuff was just beyond what we could manage. And as such, we really needed a platform that was able to be, support like modern learning techniques, be able to easily be extended, have extension built into it, which is one of the reasons why we started looking at the new platform in the first place, which is saying not things, but I mean, that is like a big thing. I said before about how we started this. It was like over a year ago. It was before ChefConf last year when our manager at the time asked me to start investigating into ways that we could get. One of the big problems we've had with the platform before was people would find it difficult, particularly in corporate environments where they couldn't install all the software and stuff. They wanted to be able to actually start being able to use the tools, understand the tools more, and so we wanted some kind of lab environment. We were looking as well to make it easier for us to deliver our in-person training, because there's a lot of like lab environments setups, and so it started back then with looking into the various different options for lab environments and what have you, and as time went on, it extended into this idea of like, well, we should like actually build out a whole new learning platform together. And I think I probably formally started this task. It was probably around about June last year, I think. No, maybe a bit later, June, July. It was roughly the same time that Robin started. So it was when we had the change of manager and everything like that. Was when I started the new process and started looking into different platforms. And my goodness, there is a lot of learning platform providers out there. And it was a really interesting challenge, because a lot of the platforms out there, just although they had some customers that were technology customers, the vast majority of learning platforms out there are not designed for technology companies. They're designed for health and safety training or diversity training, the sort of corporate training where you just need to watch a video, answer a few questions, and don't have the flexibility to, for example, and in fact, if you don't mind, I'll share the screen.
Before you do that,
okay.
I would love to give Nate a chance to introduce himself.
Oh, sorry.
I was just waiting for a good opening there, but yeah, let's have you share the platform after Nate introduces himself. And I have a couple of questions specifically for you, Nate, too, that I kind of want to dive into.
Sure.
So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into learning and enablement and all this awesome stuff to begin with?
Yeah, well, first I want to say that it's just been a pleasure working with you all. I haven't been in the trenches like my colleagues have, but I've been following along and living vicariously through them. And it's just been a thrill to see the site get launched and see all the new capabilities and see all the success you guys have been having. So we really enjoyed working with you. So yeah, I've been involved with open source software for over a decade. Started out in the Clone community. Some of you may have heard of it. It's a Python-based CMS. So I was involved with that for many years, and then I got involved in the Django community. Did that for a few years, and then stumbled into this OpenEdX thing back in 2015. Also was peripherally involved in the Docker community. So I've kind of been doing open source for a really long time. So it was only natural that I would start my company built on an open source project. This is a little side note, but the origins of the company where we actually built a platform as a service called Django Zoom back when we were doing Django stuff. So it had some elements of Chef to it because you could push your code up into the cloud and you could deploy. It's sort of like Heroku for Python developers before there was Heroku for Python developers. So that was a fun project. So I got involved with the OpenEdX platform, and at the time it was really new. It had just come out, and there weren't very many people out there who really knew how it worked. And it's quite complex, as you guys know. Has a lot of power, but with that power comes a lot of responsibility. And so, what we've essentially done is taken this open source platform, and we've wrapped a service around it, hosted software as a service, with a lot of the types of capabilities that corporate learning, more commercial use. It was really designed more for academia and universities, and so we've been able to work with our customers to identify gaps, things that companies need, like single sign-on and better reporting and integration with Marketo and those sorts of things that we kept hearing over and over and over. Why doesn't it do this? And we'd say, I don't know. Why doesn't it do that? Well, let's make it do that. So that's kind of how the product has evolved over the years, is just listening to our customers, figuring out what they're looking to do, and just continually improving and building the best product we possibly can. So our mission is really to enable trainers and educators to deliver delightful, immersive, and hands-on learning experiences. So we really focus a lot on helping companies that are delivering a fairly technical product. Whereas, in order to get the value out of that product, you really have to get your hands on it. You have to learn by doing. And so our platform integrates a hands-on lab environment together with the courseware capability. So learners can just click a button and they instantly get an environment in which they can do the exercises.
I gotta say, that's like one of the coolest features about Appsembler and about your platform. And I'll say my history at Chef, the reason that I wanted to work at this company in the first place is because our learning platform offered users a server that they could use their code against and actually execute. They didn't have to pay for it. And eventually we moved away from that platform. And so when Kimball was going through the selection process and I was early on part of the discussions with each of the vendors to talk about like which features we wanted. And I'm pretty sure he stopped inviting me on purpose at some point because I was like, this is so important. Like we need these environments to be able to spin up super quickly, to have everything in them that learners need in order to learn. If they have to go through and like learn how to set up an environment just so they can go through a tutorial and learn new stuff, like they're not gonna stick around for that lesson. It's gonna take way too long. So kudos to you for focusing on that as like a big feature, because it is it's so cool. And like I said, it was the thing that drew me to Chef as a company was they care so much about people being enabled with their product. Like they'll give you all of this free training essentially with no promise of return for them because it helps. So thank you from me. And that might be an awesome segue to go back to Kimball and get a demo like you were talking about. So are you going to show us what the new Learn Chef platform looks like, or are you going to show us Appsembler and Tahoe and Studio and stuff like that?
I'm going to start with just the Learn Chef platform and highlight some of the things that are particularly like were important for us. So I'll grab that window there. Okay. So this is the new platform. I'm logged in. I'm just making. Yeah, I'm logged in. You can see all of the courses, including the ones that we've got coming soon. But I'm going to first like show the course that I'm working on, particularly that I've been working on for this thing, which is the test expectations within spec. The reason why I want to show this one particularly is obviously I'm aware of it and the things, and I want to just show a few of the little bits that are important about what we were trying to get working when we were looking at platforms. And I talked with a lot of different vendors, and one of the particular things that we wanted was to be able to cover code snippets. So we have code snippets like this where we have code, you need to be able to cut and paste it, and there's lots and lots of different code snippets we have. And I asked every single vendor that we talked to about doing this, and the vast majority of them were they just took a screenshot of our existing platform and put the picture in. And I'm like, no, you've not got it. You don't understand. And that was one of the big problems I had. And also to make it worse, is if I go onto the next page here, we often would have them looking like an actual terminal window because it helps the learner get the context. And this is something that we had implemented in our old platform. It was quite a lot of complex complex HTML and CSS. From our point of view as developing it, it was a little bit of markdown, but there was a lot of stuff going on in the background. We talked before about that compile process. So we wanted to be able to replicate this platform again and again with the ability to cut and paste, be able to copy the command that's being run and what have you. And we'd gone through this, and with one of the other vendors that we'd looked at, we'd gotten to a pretty good place. I'd done a bit of work myself, and we got to a place where we were able to do it. It was going to be a bit complex. And then when I was talking with Nate, he was like, if you come across this Prism.js platform, it makes it really easy to do syntax highlighting, and it's pluggable. And so from there, we were able to do it. And I think, and the reason I raised that is that particular little note, and there was lots of little nuggets like that from Nate, it just showed how much Nate understood the industry we were working in, how much depth of knowledge he had with different platforms and products that were around. And so it made it so much easier for us to work with, which is why in the end we chose Appsembler as the vendor, because they were able to prove to us that they were capable of doing what we needed to do. But the other thing that was really important, and we've talked about this before, was in terms of the lab. So we can, within this, we've got the ability, you can click the button there, and we can launch a lab. And in this lab, we have all of the Chef software set up. and it's we've got there, so we can run the chef command. It's all there. We can run the inspect command, and this is just running in the browser on a machine that's provisioned remotely. Not quite sure why inspect is taking a long time there, but it's provisioned remotely, and we've got this, and we can through this we can run all of the labs within this course. So people don't need to install anything on their local machine. They don't need to worry about setting up VirtualBox or Docker. They don't have to worry about if they're running on Windows that they have to make sure that they've got the right setup of the built-in Windows stuff. And if they're running Windows Home, they don't have all the appropriate plugins that are things that are needed. It just works in the browser without any platform. Now, as we said, when I was investigating this is what I started looking at for a long time. And I went through different platforms. I looked at a lot of different systems. Some of the platforms I was looking, they would take far too long to load up. Others were really fast, but they were lacking in features. The Virtual Labs platform from Appsembler hit the balance of being flexible, fast, and frankly affordable. I mean, it's an important point for a customer. It's not an easy thing to provide, and so there is cost involved, but we needed to make sure it was something that when we were offering this for free, that it was something that was within the budget that we had, and then the platform was really good for that. And I mean, just here you can see all we've got here is a terminal window, but that's not all that you can do. If I flip onto a different share, I can show you can also build out this. You can also have a full, essentially Visual Studio Code platform. I've not got anything set up. This is purely a test system we've got, but that gives you, again, you still have the ability to have a terminal. You can create files, and you can edit them as though you're similar to using Visual Studio Code.
And I just want to call out the Thea editor, which is an open source variant that this is kind of built on. And just to say, this isn't Visual Studio Code, but it's a really neat open source project.
Yeah, it's not quite working right. I'm not sure what's going on here.
I think it is right there. You just don't have any files in your file tree, probably.
I tried to create one and it's not working.
Oh.
We haven't got the right permissions, that's why.
There we go.
But anyway, I say this was just one that I've got set up. It's not even showing up HTTPS. So, but I wanted to just demonstrate, like, with the ability that we've got on here, and it's just these little things are going to make it so much easier for our developers. And the other thing, as we've talked about before, is that being a platform, this is an actual designed as a learning environment. It's designed for teachers and lecturers to be able to produce the courses who may not have the same level of computer technology ability that others would have, that we might have. And so it's designed to be easy to use. So we're going to be able to open this up not only to other people within the company, but eventually to community members to be able to contribute and work on our courses as well, which is something I'm really looking forward to. We've got some particular community members who have really want to be able to contribute and have been asking it for a long time, but it's been so difficult to allow that. Whereas now we've got the ability to make it so much easier to do that, and we're really grateful for that.
That was a really good summation of, like, basically all of the pre-canned questions that I had.
Oops.
To ask. You just answered all of them.
Kimball is such an overachiever.
Yeah, exactly. This whole crew of people is overachievers. I think, yeah. I was going to ask, like, what are some of the cool features and bells and whistles that attracted you to Appsembler? And, well, you just talked about all of that.
I could probably go into a bit more detail on that, to be honest. Because it was, and one of the things I know one of the questions you've got is all about the challenges in the project as well. Mm-hmm. And this is the interesting thing, is that at the point we started talking to Appsembler, we had chosen the platform already for our learning environment, but we were still looking for a platform for the labs environment. And I had been recommended Nate and Appsembler. Weirdly, from one of the previous learning platforms that I'd been looking at had put me on to Appsembler. I had watched some of the webinars and everything. I was very impressed with the platform. And I was just talking with Nate and what have you, and it was while we were talking with Nate about the learning platform that we then decided, and as well as having some discussions with the other platform, we realized that there was this, although the learning platform, which was actually Moodle, which I was familiar with, was very good, we didn't have the depth of experience from the company to be able to deal with all our integrations. I mean, we use this, there's a lot of marketing integration that needs to happen. There's a lot of the ability to manage like different login environments and stuff. We get in the future, we're going to be able to allow different groups of access, so that people that are being onboarded by our customer success team at Chef have the access to courses that are specifically for that onboarding process and all that sort of thing. And all of that kind of beyond just the standard learning platform, the vendor we were looking for before, whilst have incredibly experienced with regards to schools and local government type platforms, they didn't have the experience that we needed in that one, and we weren't able to answer all the questions. And so when I spoke with Nate, he had all these understandings, but this is what comes into one of the challenges, is because we had originally been ready to get going back in January. But then we had this sudden change of vendor. And so that took another like 6-8 weeks off the project time. And then all of the COVID-19 stuff hit it. So I was supposed to be in Seattle for 2 weeks as part of the onboarding, to be within the same time zone as all my colleagues, to work with the graphics team, work with the rest of the marketing team, work with you and Robin, Jody. And that all got ripped away from us. And then again, I was supposed to be in Seattle again in the lead up to ChefConf to be able to do the final finishing touches and stuff again in the same room. And it's amazing how much time is added when you just aren't in the same room. Like the even things like the time zone difference is a big problem, but it's not just the time zone. And so obviously I've been working very long hours, as has the rest of the team, and I know that the Appsembler have been working long hours. Even in the run-up, they were working all through the weekend before the run-up of our launch as well, which was so very grateful for. And I want to call out, because obviously we've got Nate and Tanya and Harry here, and Tanya, say we've called out as being amazing, but it wasn't just Tanya. There were several other people from Appsembler, including 2 others that are also in Europe and who are also working the crazy hours that are the same as me. And I'm so very grateful to both Matthew and TJ, who were both based in Europe and both working the crazy hours as well. And we wouldn't have been able to do it without you. But yeah,
we really honestly had a huge demand to try and launch this new platform by our big ChefConf date, June 2nd, you know, that we really were hoping to have it ready for. And the ability to do any of that in light of the times and what's going on globally just really speaks to how flexible the Appsembler team was in helping us, including changing your workflows, you know, and being willing to do things like jump into Slack with us and this shared channel thing that you hadn't really done with another client before. And we just really appreciated your willingness to change your workflow a little bit and do something that was really helpful for us. So
that shared channel was great, like not only in being able to pivot quickly when we had to change on things, but in basically being able to share emojis and GIFs so we could build a relationship. Just wouldn't have been the same without that. And I want to give the shout out, since hopefully our team will be watching this. Val, our project manager, dear Lord, nothing would have happened without her. Oh my God. I can't do that job. She's amazing. So a lot of what we did to make everything custom and amazing with the integrations with Marketo and social logons and Auth0 and all of that. Thank you, Val. And then Amir and Brian were the main developers on that. And so, yes, gosh, so much. And right up to the end, I know Brian was working like that Sunday and that Monday and everything, and so much work there. And then Mate, also in Europe, our designer. There were a lot of iterations. There weren't supposed to be a lot of iterations, but there were. And he also, along with you guys, like it pushed him to create some really new and amazing things. You have the blingingest, most beautiful site that we have right now, honestly. And thank you for like giving us the platform for that. So I think that's, other than the ones you mentioned, those are the other ones I want to shout out.
Absolutely. Mate as well. That like he's done things with CSS and HTML I didn't even know were possible, and has expanded my knowledge, which is amazing as well. I'm super grateful.
And you've taken it and made it even like better. So awesome.
Yeah, while we're giving shout outs, I want to say shout out to Hanya on our creative team, who is the proud genius behind all of the like super awesome castle and dragon kind of questy themed images that you'll see on learn.chef.io. You can collect badges, and they're all like, if you're either a gamer or an RPGer, they're all, it's like you can get a ring of transmogrification or something like that. And,
Transmogrifier crystal.
Yes, exactly. Transmogrifier crystal. So it's just really fun. And we've tried really hard to keep that sort of gamified, like badge earning system with Learn Chef, so that people can continue to not just track their work, but like do it in a way that engages them and they actually want to check off those boxes so that they can get those badges. So shout out to Hanya and the rest of the creative team. I know has been very helpful with that. Shout out to Sean on our team, our web, is he
Sean,
the web
yeah.
director?
He is, I don't know, web marketing is what he usually says, but maybe.
Okay, sorry, I do not know your
He's a
title
badass.
exactly,
I know
Sean,
that.
but shout out to you as well and Jaja, oh my gosh, for supporting all of our like backup requests for like different style sheets and like help.
Jaja Lee is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes. And also huge shout out to our exec sponsor, Brian Goldfarb, for like making this a priority and making sure that this is something our community and our customers can access and learn from. So I don't know if you guys are in the Twitch chat, but there are some amazing emojis going on, like an octopus. I think that is supposed to signify teamwork, maybe.
Don't forget April Nash, the goddess of Marketo, too. So on
yes.
April.
Oh yes, April. Oh my gosh. Like,
yeah, I wanted to
there's
mention
so
April
many people
Nash.
involved in this beyond just
And,
who you see on this stream right now. So
April worked so hard at the last minute for us to get all the Marketo integrations and everything. And really, we were kind of left to project manage the whole thing by ourselves in some ways. And we hadn't really, like as a team, I think we dispersed that responsibility pretty well, but we really didn't know what we were doing. And April and also Aaron Larson as well, the marketing campaigns manager, they both like kind of steered us in the right direction and were holding our hands in interesting ways, like, where is this deliverable? Oh, we didn't even think about that at all. Like, so just a huge team effort. There's plenty of other people involved, like Matt Lyman and Benny as well. Vasquez, just like so many people worked on this project. And,
Matt Carter.
And
yes.
Matt Carter, of course, and Annika Eckrell. So, amazing.
Yeah, holy crap. A lot of people. I feel like we're on, it's like the Oscars or something, and we're thanking. I want to thank my mother and my teacher in 7th grade who supported my dreams. Yes, perfect,
I definitely
Tanya.
have to thank my wife. The hours I've been putting in has just been insane. So,
yeah. I think roommates and significant others and et cetera, all deserve a huge thank you for putting up with everybody right now during this time. So
and lastly, I just want to say it again so he doesn't get forgotten when he watches this later, but Steve Del Fonta did a huge amount of work in migrating a bunch of the modules. We have a lot of work to do on there still, but the content on the site would be beautiful but empty without their help. Yeah. So thanks, Steve. Hope you're enjoying a margarita or something.
Okay, we have so many years of expertise in kind of learning and development around learning. I do kind of want to dig into some like questions and maybe have a like roundtable discussion around this. So anybody who wants to answer this, just kind of jump in. But I'd love to know, like, what are some of the biggest challenges that people face when they're trying to learn new, maybe specifically new technologies or new programming languages? And Nate, especially, I'd love to hear from you, like how you build a roadmap that like has learning experience in mind. Like, how do you build out products that are designed to help people learn, and what do you focus on as you're doing that? So really anybody take it away, but yeah, I'd love to kind of hear everybody else's opinions and expertise.
Yeah, I think we touched on this earlier. It's really about minimizing friction and maximizing time to value. Like, how quickly can you get the learner to a place where they have that aha moment, like, okay, I get it, and build that confidence, and always keeping them kind of on the edge of their knowledge. You know, you don't want to make something too easy where they're getting bored, but you also don't want to make it super advanced. So finding the right balance when you're creating the curriculum of how can we continuously challenge them and keep them engaged and excited to learn more. So I think that's a big part of it. And the hands-on piece obviously is a big part of that you touched on this earlier. If I have to download, install, configure, muck around with settings, all that stuff, that just takes away from the overall learning experience. And maybe later I'll go through that process once I'm, committed to the software and I'm ready to take that next step. But when people are first, especially for newcomers, right, newbies that are just learning something for the first time, you really want to make it seamless. You want to make it frictionless so that they're just in doing it and getting a really great experience from the get-go. So I think that's the core of what I think makes for a really great learning experience, is just kind of putting yourself in the learner's shoes and trying to think, if I was learning this for the first time, what would the experience that I would want to have for that?
I think one of the things that one of the things I was focusing on is that it can be very overwhelming when you're trying to learn a new technologies. And with the suite of software that Chef has, I think one of the issues we had in our previous training was that they all intermingled, and you would either have to assume somebody had all the knowledge, or you would have to teach everything all at once, which is totally overwhelming. And so one of the things that we've tried to do, and we've not got it quite right, but we're definitely going to be improving on it, is trying to focus on the little bits first. Bring in, like, this is Chef Infra, this is Inspec, this is Habitat, like, this is what they do, this is what you want to learn from them, this is the understanding, and build that knowledge then. And then so then when you go on to the more complex, like putting stuff together into a solution, you've got that grounded knowledge, and it's not quite so overwhelming. But at the same time, you can say, I want to learn to be able to solve this particular problem, and make it clear where you need to go to get that knowledge. And one of the things, I know we've had a lot of feedback from people who are like, oh, where is all my modules? Where's all this? And now it's like, instead of having 80 modules, we've now got at the moment 6 courses, and we're going to be building that up. And a lot of people think, oh, well, where's it all? The content's gone, and it's still there. It's just that we've tried to make it more structured, and I think that should help people. Like, if they know what they want to do, and obviously we've got to do a lot of work to help people gear people in the right direction, and then we have plans for that. But getting that nice, clear progression. And one of the things that we're doing to help with that is we've invested we've talked about the badging, and we invested in the badging platform. The platform we're using is built on the Mozilla Open Badges platform. It was developed, I can't remember when it first started being developed. I know it must have been a long time ago, because I went to Moodle Moot when they were talking about this many years ago, and it's a great platform, and Badger, which is a vendor that we've been using, have built out this new version of it, and they have this thing called the badging pathways. And once we get that set up, it will make it so you can say, I want to be on a pathway towards, and this will eventually be reintroduced in the certification program, but I want to be on a pathway to get to this aim. And you can then see all the bits that you need to do, because it will be presented to you. To do that, you need to do this, 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 and this, which, as well as building up that certification pathway in a way that is like easy, manageable parts. It also helps with that I don't know where to go next, I don't know where to start type problem. And I think that's one of the things that we really want to do and improve on that one. So yeah.
Nice.
You know, I think one of the things that we hear a lot from our customers, and you've mentioned it, you know, wanting to be able to sort of, for lack of a better term, almost crowdsource some of the content creation. So get more people involved. One of the things that, you know, and this is, you know, due in large part to Open edX and the studio where you're creating content. But we hear from customers that for the first time, they're able to play at education. So they'll challenge each other. They'll say, okay, we need to present this concept. There's 4 of us in the room. How many different ways can we come up with thinking about presenting this and figuring out what's the best way to do it? So, you know, there's a flexibility in the platform. There's a flexibility from some of the things we've added on in Tahoe that make it a little easier to do that. And I think there's a huge benefit to the learner from that, because you've got people that understand what you're trying to get across, and now they're challenging themselves. What's the best way to present this? And I think that you know, everybody wins. We hear that a lot.
I like that. It's definitely been very interesting for me. I did not come from an education background or anything like that, or like a teaching background, but being able to be on the team with, as Robin mentioned, Steve, who studied instructional design, and like that's what his degree is. Robin, whose career has been built around teaching people in the technology industry, but in just in general. Anyways, it's been really like, I say this a lot, but like on the stream, I get to selfishly benefit from all these different people's experiences. So like I said, I didn't come from that background at all, and I've been learning so much about learning in general, which is like my favorite thing to do anyway. So so yeah, it's been really cool to have that sort of dynamic like you're talking about, where we do have conversations like, hey, there are 14 there are 14 different ways that someone can accomplish this one thing. What do we feel like is the most efficient, most effective, and moving forward going to be able to survive and be relevant the longest? And we definitely have like disagreements, which is also great because I get to learn like what a perspective that I wasn't thinking of before again. So so yeah, it's that's one of my sort of like favorite things about learning new languages and being a part of like the technology industry in general, is all the learning that is involved in that. Yeah.
What drew me to teaching, I guess, in general, or one reason I do it, is because of that kind of aha moment that Nate brought up before. Like, how quickly can you give that to a student is very important if they're not going to get discouraged and, you know, be excited about it. And that's been one of the big challenging things about working in automation, or in especially with chef products. You know, is there is a lot of foundational knowledge that's required to even begin using our software. Not to mention trying it for the first time. So if you've never spun up a virtual machine on your laptop, for example, or you don't really know what a Docker container is, but you know, there's like a lot of trust that the learner has to give to you and your platform in order to be able to say, I don't get this, but I will someday if I follow the steps. And how can you like communicate that through your platform in a way that says, you know, we're going to hold your hand, we got this. We'll learn this together, and so that's just been incredibly challenging over the years to find a way to give that to students in this industry. And what I'm really excited about with that Appsembler, at least the potential for this, right, is to get to that moment where students reach understanding faster. There's not going to be all this foundational knowledge. They don't have to struggle for 3 hours learning how to switch the hypervisor on their laptop on and off before they can even install our software and get up and running with it, right? We're not there yet. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, both on our product and on finding the best way to do that through the new Learn Chef platform. But I feel enabled to do that for the first time. It's not just a bunch of static HTML where I'm trying to say, oh my gosh, like how do I do this, right? We have tools at our disposal that I haven't even scratched the surface of. There's so many neat like open source plugins that Appsembler provides, so many other ones that you're considering helping us implement. And that's just really neat to have all this at our disposal. Like I can't even, the fact that I have like multiple choice questions and radios and all kinds of different things that I can use before, I have to expand my ideas of what I can do in the platform now. So I can take advantage of all these cool new features we can do. So
yeah, we were having a discussion just before we started about this, about like videos and stuff, because like one of the things that's been really difficult for us to implement in the past was anything similar to the sort of thing we're giving with instructor-led training, where we're somewhat giving that kind of lecture thing, because we had our demos and we had like really long form videos, but what we didn't have was the ability to easily have a little bit of a short video explaining a concept, and then you being able to try it yourself and all that. And that's so easy for us to do in the new platform. And also, like, one of the wonderful accessibility features I like about the Appsembler platform is that when we add a transcript to those videos, when we put them on there, they're searchable. You can search the site and find, like, I want to know about, InSpec, and it's going to not only tell you which video it's in, but it's going to take you directly to that point in the video. And it's amazing. And say we've got so much potential of stuff we can do with. Using another open source platform, H5P, which we're working with, we'll be able to have interactive videos where the video will stop, ask you a question. If you get the question wrong, it will take you back a bit and let you watch the video again, all automatically, all built into the platform. And it's so much that we can do. And we just at the moment, it's a little bit overwhelming, but it's going to give us the ability to produce such amazing content. And I've been wondering, like, what are we going to do in this realm where DevRel is supposed to be traveling all the time, and traveling is still not going to be something we can do for a while. But as I think about what we've got these tools at our disposal that we can use to produce great content, both for learning, interaction, and even like instructor-led, supported, like, with the platform at the same time, is all things that we'll be able to do. I haven't watched it yet, but there was a webinar yesterday about integrating a video conference platform right into edX, so that you can open edX, so that you can like do your like learning with the platform right there. I need to watch the recording of the webinar, but it sounds like all these abilities that just haven't been there.
So cool.
We've even got a help article on that one.
Have you? Excellent.
That's awesome. I imagine that would enable a lot of teachers and students to be able to connect during lessons. So that's awesome. Well, we have about 2 minutes left, so I'm going to start wrapping up. And I know Nate had to drop to head into the office, I think, or something along those lines. But I just want to say, Harry, Tanya, and Nate, thank you so much for joining this call today, and sharing your sort of backgrounds and your thoughts with us. It's been a very, like, we've been saying it this whole time, I guess, but like, it's been a very fun process working with your team and working with you all directly. So thank you so much for everything you've done for us. And thank you for joining this call and sharing your thoughts about learning and the open source platforms that you're working with, and all that stuff. And Robin and Kimball, thank you both for joining and sharing kind of what our sort of workflow was on the background. And I want to say one last very big special thanks to Kimball for all of the time and emotional effort and work that you've put into this project project. Oh my gosh. It's been a very long process, and it's been pretty exhausting, and you have taken so much more of that on your shoulders than the rest of us, and thusly spared all of us from it, at least from a certain amount of it. So thank you so much for all the work that you've done, all the research you put in, all the demos that you sat through and played through, and different tools and all that stuff.
For choosing Appsembler. Good choice.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be on vacation right now, I will add.
Yeah.
And yet he's here with us again.
On vacation to be on my stream for me.
He's not very good at PTO. He told me that.
Yeah, I'm really not very good at vacation. I've been checking Slack, and I had to actually take Slack and email off my phone until I could actually stop this week a bit, because last week, when I was supposed to also still be on vacation, I was just on all the time.
Yeah, you were definitely
the solution to the time zone problem. You just don't sleep.
Pretty
That's
much.
how you solve the time zone issue. God.
Okay, so today we're gonna go along the same theme of learning, and we're going to raid a channel. As we end the stream, we're gonna go over to I believe Clarkio, who is teaching folks about GitHub Gist at the moment. So if you've worked with GitHub at all in the past, if you're looking to learn more about gists, stay on the line and tell Clarkio that Chef Software said hi. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you on the next episode of Chef Live.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.